President Trump calling for a massive investment in America's defense, writing on Truth Social, quote, "For the good of our country, especially in these very troubled and dangerous times, our military budget for the year 2027 should not be $1 trillion, but rather $1.5 trillion. This will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to, and more importantly, that will keep us safe and secure regardless of foe." Joining me now, former National Security Council Chief of Staff under President Trump, Alex Gray. Alex, is this the right move by the president?
Oh, it's 100% the right move, and it's Reagan-esque. I mean, think about it. In just a couple days of 2026, Donald Trump has done more to bring America's reputation and American strength, peace through strength, back on the world stage than every one of his predecessors combined since Ronald Reagan. We need this type of military investment to deter China, to keep our hemisphere firmly in a place that supports American interests, and to make sure that our men and women in uniform have the resources they need and have the benefits they need commensurate with the job they do for all of us.
Everybody's talking about Venezuela. Everybody's also talking about Greenland and the president's comments over the weekend about Greenland. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt offering some clarity as to what our intentions there are. Listen.
The acquisition of Greenland by the United States is not a new idea. This is something that presidents dating back to the 1800s have said is advantageous for America's national security. The president has been very open and clear with all of you and with the world that he views it in the best interest of the United States to deter Russian and Chinese aggression in the Arctic region.
Alex, what should our end game in Greenland be, and how can we achieve those goals without causing absolute panic amongst our allies?
Well, Caroline Leavitt's completely right. This started under Andrew Johnson in the 1860s. Presidents as diverse as Truman, Roosevelt, Eisenhower, Wilson have all tried to get Greenland, and Donald Trump's just the most effective at moving the ball forward. We can go about getting Greenland in a number of ways. The president's right. It should be part of the United States. It should be a territory of the United States. And we should make some really compelling offers to the people of Greenland themselves, not Denmark. We should have them as a member of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement. We should be offering them incentives. If they allow us to help bring their minerals industry online, we should be giving every Greenlander a piece of that action, the way that Alaskans benefit from the energy that is under their feet. We should be making this worthwhile for the Greenlanders because it is an absolute national security strategic necessity for the United States to have Greenland as part of the United States.
Now to Venezuela. U.S. forces seizing an oil tanker that the Coast Guard had been pursuing for weeks after it eluded the Venezuelan blockade, actually changed its flag, painted a new name on it, hoping to avoid capture. And speaking of Venezuela, President breaking some news overnight. Just came out a couple hours ago, this interview with the New York Times. Here are some of the takeaways from the interview. He says the interim government in Venezuela is giving him everything he feels is necessary. Didn't really give a timeline for how long the U.S. would maintain oversight there. Said it would be longer than a year. Wouldn't say if he recognizes interim President Rodriguez as leader, but did say Marco Rubio speaks with her and his administration in constant communication with her. And Trump also says he wants to travel to Venezuela in the future. Your thoughts on those revelations, Alex?
Well, you think about these previous American interventions like Iraq under the Bush administration or Libya under the Obama administration that were absolute unmitigated disasters. Donald Trump has learned the lessons of these. And if those had been conducted the way he's conducting Venezuela, I think we would have had a very different outcome. The president has an understanding of limits. He understands this is not the role of the United States to go in and to rebuild Venezuela in the image of the United States. The goal is to make sure that it's not a nest for Chinese, Russian, Cuban, and Iranian malign influence. The role of the United States is to make sure that there's ultimately a transition, but we don't want to push. We don't want to make this overly aggressive in our timeline and our expectation. We're not nation building. Our goal is to make sure that Venezuela does not destabilize our hemisphere. And the president's going about it in a tailored, surgical, very thoughtful way, and I think it's going to bear results for the American people and for the entire region.
Yeah, I think the takeaways from that New York Times interview very positive, and I think you agree with that as well. Alex Gray, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.